Egypt to win in the 6th of October war. When I go to the military museum in the Cairo Citadel, I am proud to see the exhibition of military equipment used in the 6th of October war, because most of this equipment is Soviet one. Pentons, missiles, tanks, aircraft, and many other items. And actually, the most famous photograph, the symbol of the 6th of October victory, is an Egyptian soldier at the eastern bank of the Suez Canal on 6th of October with Kalashnikov gun over his head. This is
highly
yes. This is a symbol. This is a symbol of the 6th of October victory. And this is already not only just a photograph. There are also monuments and with Kalashnikov. So, and this is also one of the symbols of our friendship and interaction. Because this is a gun from Russia, from the Soviet Union, and since last 10 years, during the presidency of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, our relations are going through the new revival, and we intensified, thanks to cordial relations between our presidents. We intensified all our ties in all fields, and so we see and we believe that our relations have very good prospects, which is very important not only to our nations, but for the whole region and even for the whole world.
Yeah, great. And actually, as we all know, that the first formal visit of Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi when he was a Minister of Defense was to Russia.
Correct.
And I myself cannot forget the scene when Mr. President Vladimir Putin wore him the military of Russian jacket. This is a very symbolic scene, no doubt for this. So the bilateral relations between Russia presented in the Soviet Union before with Egypt stands historical old times for this. As Egypt does its best for preparing to host the Russia-African Forum next November. If you Excellency to have a comment on.
Oh yes, Egypt was founder together with Russia of this format between Russia and Africa. The first summit of this format was conducted in 2019 in the Russian city of Sochi, and it was co-chaired by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and President Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
Because at that time President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was chairman of the African Union. And so actually this format was initiated together by Russia and by Egypt. And then in 2023, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi participated at the second summit, Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg. And last year we also conducted in Sochi the first ministerial conference of the Russia-Africa Forum of Cooperation. And this year our Egyptian friends agreed to host this conference in Cairo, and it is scheduled for November 18 and 19 to be conducted here in Cairo. And we are lucky that Egypt will host this important conference, which will play a very important role for the cooperation not only between Russia and Egypt, but between Russia and the whole Africa. Egypt was since centuries gateway for Russia, gateway to Africa.
The balance of the world, actually.
Yes, from Russian point of view, Egypt was always for us gateway to Africa. And this conference in Cairo is also symbolic, because this just shows the most important role which Egypt plays for Russia in Africa, because Egypt is the partner number one for Russia on the whole Africa, and clearly Egypt is a very valuable global partner for my country, and we appreciate that our Egyptian friends and partners are ready to continue and to develop the cooperation between our countries, and we hope that this conference will be successful due to our joint efforts.
Great. About the Middle East fractures nowadays, especially after the 12 days war between Iran and Israel, and finally the strikes Qatar, the Arabian state, had faced from the Israeli last days. How is the attitude of the Russian?
Russia is looking with high concerns at the situation in the Middle East, and
Yes.
clearly we understand that this situation is very tense, and there can be very complicated consequences of the behavior of different countries, which provoke instability in the region.
Especially Israel and USA.
You are right, yes, and we disagree with the activities of Israel in the Gaza sector. Clearly, these are awful events with mass killing of Palestinian population, women and children, and we believe that we should not tolerate such actions. The same is for strikes against independent nations like Iran or Qatar, which were conducted by Israel, by other countries, and clearly this is a clear violation of the international law, and these are highly dangerous strikes, especially when we think about the hitting of nuclear facilities in Iran, because these strikes could cause nuclear catastrophe if they could achieve some nuclear facilities, yes, machines, and it's a very reckless behavior from our point of view, and we believe that such a policy by Israel and by countries which support Israel should be stopped as soon as possible. And the only way to move forward and to achieve peace in the Middle East from our point of view is the creation of the sovereign independent Palestinian state, which will exist together with Israel, but will be independent, sovereign, will have its own government, its own administration, and because we need finally to fulfill the decision of the United Nations from 1947 about the creation of the Palestinian state. And Russia, it was still the Soviet Union, recognized the Palestinian state immediately. It was proclaimed by Chairman Yasser Arafat in 1988, so 37 years ago. Now some Western countries also started to recognize Palestine as a state, but my country did this 37 years ago, as I said, immediately after it was proclaimed, the embassy of Palestine in Moscow.
Mr. About the recognizing by some countries, and lately France, UK, about the Palestinian state, Your Excellency see that is it actually with goodwill from the European countries towards the Arabs, especially Palestine state, as myself I consider these recognitions just as meant a favor for the Palestinians, though they are the owners, the actual owners of the land. Recognizing the Palestinian state nowadays, I think it highlights the rudeness as Israel assumed as occupiers since 1917, with no doubt for this. How you see this point of view?
Oh, we think that it's a good gesture, but it came too late. And as I said, Russia, still the Soviet Union, recognized Palestine as a state 37 years ago, and most of European countries, the same as the United States, continued to support Israel and encouraged Israel to behave aggressively in the region. So if all those countries made this step dozens of years ago, maybe we could have another picture and another situation in the region right now. I can imagine that the governments of Great Britain, France and some other countries did this step not by their own will, but by the pressure of their population, because the population of their countries was highly disappointed and enraged and injured about the situation in Palestine.
Because Israel itself, till now, the decisions made by the UN years ago, such as 242, till now, not achieved on the land.
Yes, correct, yes. And
so the matter is considered as just a moral lesson,
That's true. The population of many Western countries see what's going on in Palestine with this mass killing of civilians, of women and children. We do not welcome any kind of terrorism, and we condemned immediately the action by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023, that it was a real terrorist act against Israel. But we don't think that this act by Hamas justified their continuing actions by Israel, because Israel started to kill innocent people.
But Your Excellency, consider the role of the resistance of all Palestinian groups, Hamas, Jihad, even Fatah. This is the national role by them committed, not terrorists. You consider this?
Yeah, we understand that Palestinian people are fighting for their rights, for their land, for their destiny, for their life since 75 or 77 years.
Yes,
and since the time of Nakba.
Fight for themselves.
Yes, we understand that Palestinian people have a total right to fight for their life. Clear. But clearly we totally condemn all terrorist actions. We cannot support any actions of terrorism, because Russia suffered itself highly from terrorism through our history. But we strongly believe that it's necessary to create two states, and we hope that our Israeli partners will understand this finally, that it's better to live
1967 borders.
Yes, it's better to live in peace with your neighbors, because Israel is surrounded by Arab countries, and clearly it's necessary to find peaceful solutions to live together.
Your Excellency is optimistic about this next days?
Next days of what? In the region? What will happen next?
Yes.
It's difficult to assess. We see that Israel is the government of Israel is very decisive now, and we see and we hear the statements from Israel saying that they've started a new military operation in the Gaza Strip, and they are going to occupy it totally. And we believe that this will not solve the problem, but this will cause new victims. And we see already that approximately 65,000 Palestinians were killed. They killed in the Gaza Strip, and these are awful figures. And this is just mass extinction of people in Palestine, of women and children, and this is totally unacceptable.
Flashing back to the 12 days Israel-Iran war, and assuming that in addition to the USA, they destroyed the nuclear program of Iran. Your Excellency agree? Destroyed or not?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in Iranian affairs, and I don't know. I don't have the knowledge of
As an
Iranian
expert of diplomacy.
Iranian
As an expert of
facilities.
diplomacy.
Yes, I don't know if they destroyed or not. I'm not sure that it was destroyed, and in any case, as I said, it was very dangerous action because it could cause real nuclear catastrophe if the missiles.
If this actually happened,
Yes, if missiles
and
hit.
if, according to their assumes that Iran has nowadays a dangerous nuclear program, if it's destroyed, of course, the Middle East, not only but the whole world, in a very dangerous catastrophe.
That's true. And
So, the Iranian program of nuclear approved that, according to the tale of the USA and Israel, the destruction of Iranian program of nuclear not dangerous if they destroy it. It's a peaceful.
maybe yes, you can be right. But
Yeah.
what is clear for me that after this very action by the United States and by Israel will encourage many nations in the world to develop their own nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Because this action just shows to all countries of the world that if you officially have nuclear weapons, nukes, you will not be attacked.
Yes.
But if you don't have nuclear weapons, you can be attacked. And this action just encourage some countries in the world to develop nuclear weapons. So it's very bad situation because yes, it could cause nuclear catastrophe, and at the same time it encouraged many other countries to develop the nukes.
About the Syrian file, not only Syria, but it's well known to all that the Soviet Socialist Republics Union years ago has a very engagement with all Arab countries from the Gulf to the ocean. But suddenly, months ago, the Syrian coup, although there is a defense treaty between Russia and Syria, and nowadays Israel attacked many times Syria, and it is on some zones and playing a very weak role in Sudan, a very great area in Syria. What's the situation of Russia about the current events nowadays?
Syria is a sovereign country, and we believe and we hope that Syria will continue to be a united and sovereign country, an independent country, and that all territories of Syria which are now occupied by some other nations should be vacated.
Such as?
Oh, there are many different troops. There are American troops there on the Syrian territory. Clearly, they should go.
Yes.
They should leave this territory. And clearly, we saw Israeli tanks staying pretty close to Damascus. And yes, and this was a clear violation of the agreement from 1974 about the disengagement of warring parties after 6th of October war. And we hope that the new Syrian government will be able to keep the country united and sovereign.
There's a resolution to resist what's going on.
Yes, and we are ready to be helpful. We don't have any problems for cooperation with the new authorities.
Especially there is the Astana Treaty between Iran, Russia, Turkey for this?
Yes, there was Astana format for Russia, Turkey and Iran on Syrian affairs, but situation changed in December last year, and as it changed several times.
Changed by whom, Mr. Pence?
It was changed by rebels, by the rebels which took power in Damascus. Clearly, we understand that they were supported by many Western countries. It was, it is clear knowledge for us.
How is it? That's wrong.
They're all Western countries. We saw that many Western countries supported the fighters, the groups which fought against the previous regime in Damascus, and they support even the ISIL. You may remember, and many American or some other Western nationals went to Syria in order to support the so-called fighters for freedom. But then they were captured by those fighters for freedom as prisoners, and those fighters for freedom cut their heads. You may remember what happened 10 years ago. And only after this, the United States recognized the ISIL as a terrorist, the Daesh, as a terrorist organization, and started to take some actions. And for Russia, it was clear before that it was necessary to stop such situation. Now the situation changed, and we just hope that the new authorities in Damascus will be able to keep the country together.
Mr. Bashar al-Assad, and Gulani refers to Turkey, and Bashar al-Assad was referring to Iran. How you see the conflict nowadays between Turkey and Iran in Syrian zone?
I don't see any specific conflict between Turkey and Iran in Syria, because both Turkey and Iran were members of the Astana format.
Do you see cooperation between the two nations?
I understand that both Turkey and Iran wants Syria to live in peace and in good neighborhood with its neighbors, and both Turkey and Iran want Syria to keep its territories which were captured by Israel. It's clearly for me, and Russia is also ready to support the Syrian authorities if they will continue the policy which is favorable for all ethnic groups in Syria, for all minorities. Yes, there are many. Syria is very diverse, and it's necessary to take into account that it's a very diverse country with religious minorities, ethnic minorities, political groups, and it's necessary to create a real national, inclusive national dialogue in this country, and to take into consideration different opinions, and only through such policy it will be possible to keep the country united, and it will be possible to defend its own borders from some other aggressors from outside.
After the preparations of the American elections of presidential, most of the world expected that as soon as Donald Trump get the power, he will be a good and a very creative ruler in stopping the war between Ukraine and Russia. But still now, he approves that he is a broker of wars. How you highlight this?
Oh, yes, we remember some statements of President Trump when he was candidate, saying that he was going to settle a war between Russia and Ukraine just in one day, in 24 hours. This did not happen, and President Trump himself said recently that the situation between Russia and Ukraine was more complicated as he thought before.
Concluded by whom, Mr. Betzer?
Complicated?
By whom?
Oh, it's complicated by the policy of his predecessor, President Biden, and by the NATO in general. Because clearly,
but nowadays Donald Trump is in power.
He's in power, yes, but the war or this situation was created before him, and
By the Western nations.
by Western nations, correct?
Germany, Germany, France.
By the NATO,
Italy,
by the NATO, because that time the NATO was led by President Biden of the United States of America, and in December 2021, Russia offered to the NATO and to the United States to conclude agreements about not expanding NATO to the east and not including Ukraine in the NATO. But both the United States separately and NATO declined our offer. It was in December 2021, and they said that they were going to include NATO, Ukraine into the NATO. And clearly it was totally unacceptable for us. It was a red line for us, because Ukraine is a historic Russian territory, and we cannot tolerate
and one day when
NATO
Soviet
comes.
state from the Soviet Union before.
Yes, it was.
So nowadays
it was-
Vladimir Zelensky is Vladimir, and this refers to Russianism.
No, it was not part of the Soviet Union. It was part of Russia.
Yes.
Part of Russia.
Yeah.
Kiev was the capital
Yeah.
of Russia. Kiev is the historic
He
capital
himself
of
was
Russia.
capital, yes.
Yes, Russia was born there. It's the cradle of Russia. Kiev is the cradle of Russia. It was the capital of Russia.
Yeah.
Just then, in 400 years later, the eastern part of Russia was captured by Mongols and the western by the Poles.
Yeah, so listen, Mr. At this point exactly, usually wars get by the conflict between habits, traditions, etc. But Russia and European countries have almost the same religion, all Christians, most of them, whether in Russia, whether in England, France, Italy, Germany, Belgium, etc. Okay, what's the reason beyond this thoughtful, supported by the European Union, USA before Donald Trump, for the good of Ukraine?
The United States and some other Western countries long before wanted to weaken Russia and to expand NATO as far as possible until our
Because
borders.
they expand
Yes, they expanded.
against the
Yes.
area Russia.
Yes, 35 years ago, during when the Warsaw Pact was destroyed, the Pact of in Eastern Europe, NATO and the United States promised us not to expand NATO an inch eastwards. They lied. They lied. After that, 7 phases of expansion happened, and it was not Russia which came to the border of NATO. It was NATO which came to the border of Russia.
Yeah.
Because you may remember that 35 years ago, NATO was at the border between German Democratic Republic and Federal Republic of Germany. So in the middle of current Germany. And now NATO is 135 kilometers from the city of St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
It's at the Russian border in Estonia and at the Russian border in Finland. It's very close. Less than 2 hours driving time from the city of St. Petersburg, the major Russian city.
And this highlights the role of the European Union since 2014, in which the war or the conflict broke between Russia and Ukraine. The role of the European Union at the time was so different for the good of Russia at the time. But in 2022 became so different. This refers to the absence of Warsaw alignment against NATO.
The roots are much deeper because the West tried to attack and to invade Russia since many centuries. We had the Sweden Empire in 18th century which tried to conquer Russia, and it was destroyed, defeated by the Russian Tsar Peter the Great.
Yeah.
100 years later, Napoleon with his French troops,
Especially
Grand
after the
Army,
Second World War.
Grand Army
Yeah.
tried to conquer Russia.
Mhm.
His Grand Army consisted not only of the French troops. French troops were only half of this Grand Army, and the second half was from troops from different countries, from Germany, Poland, Italy, even Spain, and some Switzerland, and some other countries. And it was the second attempt by the whole Europe to conquer Russia in the 19th century. When the third attempt came with Hitler, Germany, and the troops of Hitler consisted not only of Germans. There were many, the French, especially SS troops, consisted of the French, the Belgians, Norways, Denmark, and all other nations. It was the third attempt by the whole Europe to conquer Russia. And Napoleon was defeated by Russia, and then Hitler was defeated by Russia. No, not in Waterloo. Waterloo, it was already the final defeat from the Brits, but he was defeated in Russia in 1812.
Yes.
And then he had to leave Russia, and then he was defeated several times
Because of
in
the
Germany.
case of the sky at that time aligned with Russia?
Yes, the sky is always allied with Russia. The God is with us. Yes, and so we consider this as a desire of Europe right now to make a revenge for the defeats from previous centuries, because the whole Europe feels not only Germans, not only the French, which were defeated by Russia in previous centuries, but as I said, the troops from different countries participated in the Napoleon army and in the Hitler army. And right now it's the desire of big part of Europe to revenge Russia for previous defeats, and to show Russia that Europe is stronger and that Europe should play the dominant role in our continent.
Yeah.
So this is an attempt, and NATO now is undertaking a new effort to destroy Russia, to weaken us, to split us, and this is clearly so.
So the world humanity nowadays, particularly the Middle East, calls for a very strong ally between Russia, China, North Korea, including the Middle East countries, to stop this aggressive policy committed by USA and Israel. How do you see this concept?
I think you are totally right. It's very important for all progressive thinking nations to unite and to build the new multipolar world. And we have already a very good platform for the multipolar world. It is called BRICS. And since last year, Egypt is a member of this association. And it's really
symbolized.
Yes.
The nations be joined to the BRICS nowadays.
Yes, but BRICS itself symbolizes the new multipolar world, because it unites the major, most influential countries in the regions and globally, like China, India, Brazil, Russia, South Africa, and Egypt as the central country of the Arab community. And clearly BRICS shows that we can have a unity of sovereign countries, not like G7. G7 is an organization which has just one sovereign country, the United States, and all other members are subordinated to the United States from Europe or Japan. So they are just subordinated, they don't have their own foreign policy. Yes, but BRICS is a platform for the multipolar world.
Yeah.
And this platform
And
gives
this
us an
lead
opportunity to
to,
learn how to live in the
alignment. Yes.
multipolar world.
Great. About the conflict between Venezuela and USA last days, although the American administration knows that Venezuela is highly meant and considered by Russia. How do you see this situation?
We have good relations with our Venezuelan friends, and clearly we believe that it's inappropriate to undertake any measures against Venezuela itself and its property. I don't know all details of this situation, so I cannot elaborate very in detailed matter. But as I said, we totally believe that all problems should be solved through diplomatic channels between the United States and Venezuela, and we believe it's totally inappropriate to try to press a sovereign country. Venezuela is a sovereign country respected in the world, and to try to achieve some things by force. We don't see, as for now, any examples that Venezuela somehow threatened the United States. I don't know all details of this situation, but I did not see such examples that Venezuela somehow threatened the United States.
Again, Egypt-Russian history. As we know, Egypt rejected the economic sanctions by USA, European Union against Russians, and at the same time, Egyptians will not forget the role of Russia for not supporting the Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia for the good of Egyptians. How do you see this?
About Renaissance Dam, you mean?
Yes.
We have good relations both with Egypt and Ethiopia, and we believe that this problem of the Renaissance Dam should be solved in a good neighborhood manner, because all countries,
African?
all countries, they belong to the place where they are. It's not possible to take one country and to put it into another space on the globe. It's necessary to find solutions where you are. And many times the Russian foreign minister wrote letters to his Ethiopian counterpart, urging to take into consideration the totally legal requests by our Egyptian friends. And we totally recognize that the Nile River plays an existential role for Egypt. At the same time, we also understand that the creation of new energy facilities is very important for Ethiopia, because many Ethiopian villages do not have electricity.
But not to be against the
Clearly, that is why we say that it's necessary to find good neighborhood solutions in order the interests of all participating countries, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, could be fulfilled, and nobody's interest should not be hurt. I'm sure that it is possible to find such solution.
And this is your advice to the two nations, Ethiopians and Egyptians, with no doubt. Okay.
Yes.
About the Daba nuclear facility, how much updates now?
The construction of the Eldaba nuclear power plant is proceeding according to the schedule approved by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in 2020, and right now all 4 reactors units are already in the process of construction, and at the same time Russian plants, enterprises are manufacturing already reactors and other equipment for this nuclear power plant. And the first reactor should start working in 2028, and all 4 reactors should be in working phase by spring 2030, according to the schedule. Right now we are the construction goes strictly to the schedule.
Yeah.
So we hope that it will be possible, if nothing happens, it will be possible to keep to this schedule, and in 2030 the plant will be producing electricity, and it will be a new symbol of Egyptian-Russian friendship, same as the Aswan High Dam,
yes.
but Eldaba, the capacity of Eldaba is more than twice bigger than the capacity of Aswan High Dam.
The deadline of finishing that program, when? Deadline of the program to finish Dama.
Of construction. As I said, the whole plant should start working in spring 2030. 2030. In 4.5 years. The first reactor should start working in 2028, then the second in 2029, the third also at the end of 2029, and the fourth in the spring 2030. 2030. 30. Yes.
Yes. Great.
2030.
30. Great. If I ask Mr. Ambassador to send a message to Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi.
I'm not sure that this would be appropriate.
Mr. Gorbachev.
Mr. Gorbachev. Mr. Gorbachev died already, so it's too late to send any messages to him.
Mr. Yeltsin.
He is also not with us.
Mr. Ambassador, so pleased, and actually, unless your appointments, the interview with your excellency, so pleasing, so joyful, and cannot end in a time, but just your appointments to that pushes me to end our interview now. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Minister.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure, and I am sure that the relations between Russia and Egypt will prosper, and we have all opportunities to deepen our interaction in all spheres, in economic sphere, in the political field, in culture, in sports, in science, everywhere. And our ties are very deep-rooted and very intensive, and we are real friends. Our feeling towards each other is very positive, and there are many Russian tourists in Egypt, and they love your country, and we are always happy to have Egyptian friends in our country, and there are many Egyptian students in Russia. So we are real friends and very close partners.
And of course, the Egyptian media, especially diplomacy, the cooperative English versions, are meant to boost this historical bilateral relations between Russia and Egypt.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador.
Thanks a lot.